For Monday, May 2nd, 2022, will please come to order and the clerk will call the roll.
And just as a reminder to all who are in attendance, this meeting is being recorded and live streamed on the county's YouTube page. Calling the roll, Mr. Miller.
Here.
Mr. Tuma.
Here.
Mr. Jones. Mr. Jones is absent at the moment. Mr. Gallagher. Mr. Gallagher is absent. Mr. Schrein.
Here.
Ms. Baker. Here. Ms. Turner.
Here.
There is a quorum.
Thank you very much. Item number 3 is public comment. Has anybody signed in?
No, Mr. Chair, no one is signed in.
Thank you very much. Item number 4 is approval of the minutes from the April 11th, 2022 meeting. Do we have a motion?
So moved. Schrein.
Second. You got it.
Been moved and seconded. I think I heard Schrein first and Tuma second for the approval of the minutes. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. Ayes have it, and the minutes from April 11th, 2022 are approved. We have 2 matters referred to the committee. The first is Resolution 2022-0113.
Resolution number 2022-0113, adopting the annual alternative tax budget for the year 2023.
Good afternoon, Council Chair Miller, council members. Walter Parfiowitz from the Fiscal Department, Office of Budget Management, presenting on the alternative tax budget for 2023. So this is a routine item that we submit each year. So Ohio Revised Code requires County Council to adopt a tax budget for 2023. The intent of the tax budget is to demonstrate the need for property taxes levied by the county and to establish next year's revenue estimates. The proposed alternative tax budget includes 3 schedules. I think all of you have that. Schedule 1 details the 14.85 mills that will be levied in voted and unvoted millage totaling $438.8 million. So this includes a number of levies and also inside millage. So it includes the 3.9 mills Board of Developmental Disabilities levy, the 4.8 and the 4.7 mills HHS levies, 1.1 mills of inside millage to support general fund operations, and 0.35 mills of inside millage to support general obligation debt service. So there's one change here from last year, and it's simply the allocation of inside millage to the general fund. It was increased by 0.1 mills, and the allocation to general obligation bond retirement was decreased by the same 0.1 mills. Moving on to Schedule 2. Schedule 2 is the official certificate of estimated resources for all funds. We're recommending a county operating tax budget of $1,942,343,088 for 2023. Schedule 3 details our general obligation debt. Our debt service for 2023 includes a number of series. So we have 2009B, 2019A, 2019B, 2020A, and 2020B general obligation bonds totaling $240,795,000. There are really no changes to the general obligation debt from last year other than the amounts. Questions?
So, what changes enabled us to reduce the amount of allocation for debt service by 0.1 mil and add to the general fund?
Well, a couple things. Obviously, the debt went down some. It was a very small amount, but the other was the assessed valuation. Assessed valuation went up by about $4 billion over the last 2 years. So that number alone allowed us to adjust by that 0.1 mils.
Are there questions by my colleagues? Okay. Hearing none, the director has told me that we are in plenty of time on this item. It's not required until July, so it would be sufficient to refer for second reading. We don't need suspension. Do I have a motion to that effect?
So moved. Second.
It's been moved and seconded with Councilman Tuma as the first and Councilman Schwan is the second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed say no. Ayes have it, and the resolution is recommended. Thank you very much. Resolution 2022-0118.
Resolution number 2022-0118, authorizing various contracts with Manatron, doing business as Aumentum Technologies, in the total amount not to exceed $664,467 for support and maintenance services.
Good afternoon, Committee. Mike Chambers, Fiscal Officer, presenting on this item. This item before you is the Manatron, formerly doing business as Augmentum. Both of these items are from the same company. I thought it'd be interesting just to share with you, what they are a little bit more in detail. So I gave you a little bit of a slide presentation. Okay, the first item before you, and before I start, both of these items have a 4% increase, so from previous years. One of the items, the MVP, has been around since 2000, and this first one here, the CAMA system's been around since 1994. So we've been with this company for a long time. It's also worthy to note that even though it says Manatron and Augmentum, Harris has acquired both of these companies, which is our new tax software that we're building right now, or in the process of it. I will also address briefly the lateness. During the exemption process that we brought before the Board of Control a couple of weeks ago, it was noted that the process did start in September, and it did get held up a bit in legal, primarily because of the new cyber insurance. There was a lot of back and forth on that. It was started at 9/24, and we finally got OPD approval 4/7 of 22. And there was a couple of months where it was back and forth trying to get this company to respond to the insurance requirements. So with that being said, the first part of this item is the CAMA, which is the Computer Assisted Mass Appraisal, and that's primarily used by our appraisal department. And as Walter indicated about the assessed value increase, there's a little over 528,000 parcels that our team is responsible for evaluating, and market value of $93 billion. Everything we do, though, as far as with the tax, is based on the assessed value, which is right around that $34 billion that Walter had spoke about. And basically, this system maintains all the property data characteristics, and it helps calculate the value. Takes consideration any permits, new construction value, square footage. We enter into sales data. All of this information then, which is approved by the state of Ohio, this whole process that we utilize, because once again, there's 88 counties, and real estate assessing value is very important, so the state kind of oversees everything we do, is what then feeds into the next software that we're going to be talking about. So this is kind of step one, and this information feeds into, which I will call our, let me get to the next one here, our MVP property system. And once again, this system, as I indicated earlier, has been around since I believe it was 2004. Since 2000. And it's an amount not to exceed $529,000. And this is used by all the fiscal office agencies. The appraisals feed into it, special assessments feeds into it. The tax bill is created out of this system. The payments go into this system. So this is kind of the ultimate brain of collecting, the almost $3 billion in property taxes that we collect every year. And as many of you know, probably anywhere from 60 to 70% of that goes right to the schools, and the rest goes to the different levies, the county, the cities, the metro parks, and the libraries. So these two items are being considered to be eventually replaced by Harris. Certainly this part here, the MVP is. And I'm asking for your approval of this item under second reading suspension because we are already late due to the insurance requirements. But I thought it worthy to kind of maybe delve into a little bit more what these two items are instead of just combining them as one item. So I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you very much, and I do appreciate the lateness of the item. I I would have taken these two routine items and just roll them over to the next meeting on the 16th when we're doing the first quarter review and the ARPA funding. But given the lateness, I didn't want to hold it up any further. So that's why we have it today. And I would ask my colleagues if they have any questions. Councilman Tron.
So now both of these programs got purchased by Harris. Is that what you indicated?
Well, they're separate to this day, but Harris does own them. They bought MVP, and I don't want to speculate on what their intentions are with these softwares, but they do own them.
Okay, so were they bought during this? We've had some challenges with Harris on some other issues?
I mean, Harris is a big company. I mean, I don't know. Do you know the exact date that they acquired them? No, I don't know when specifically they were acquired.
Okay, so have they owned them during? And
I think it was after we started the contract. They bought them. Remember, these companies are, they also have systems elsewhere, not just us, in the state of Ohio, I believe. And would you guys have those anywhere else outside of the state? Yeah, just.
Have we resolved all of our issues that we have with Harris at this point in time?
We've come a long way. We're looking at a deadline of, I shouldn't say a deadline, we're looking at going live this year. I know there still are challenges. I know Harris recently lost their project manager again, but Debbie Daftovich and our team is looking into that. But we have challenges, but hopefully we'll meet them. As of now, I suspect we will. I've got nothing saying we won't.
Are there alternatives to these products if we should get into a challenge with Harris on the other aspects? That would you?
Well, the CAMA system in particular, there's other solutions. We have kind of paused our going with the CAMA at this point in time until the tax is resolved. Our current CAMA can still feed into, just like it feeds into MVP, it'll be able to feed into Harris if we so interface into it if we so choose. So I kind of paused that until we see the outcome of what's going on with.
But the MVP is going to run for at least this year. It looks like.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. If we are looking for an alternative, if our relationship with Harris does not improve to the point where we're satisfied, do you have any of these products? Are any of these linked at all?
First and foremost, the MVP will continue. The primary issue with that is security. It's the support of the security is vulnerable. IT is doing everything it can to protect all that at this point in time. But if we have to go another year with this, we could. Secondly, we're in the midst of a settlement with Harris right now.
Right.
And that's item one. And then item two is starting in January, if they don't deliver, is $50,000 a month as well. So we're hoping that all of that entices them to get this finished. And if not, I'm sure this system will continue another year, but it does have security risks. Okay,
and you indicated these are separate software programs under the ownership of Harris. Are they actually owned by Harris itself? In case we have to negotiate,
they're a division of Harris. There's multiple companies owned, a lot of smaller companies. They just so happen to acquire MVP. Did they acquire CAMA? I want to make sure I'm being clear. They bought both of them, yeah. So
the corporate entity owns the one that we're having challenges with, and then they own these other two products that we're discussing today.
Yeah.
Okay.
My understanding is, Councilman, is that ideally, if Harris is successful with Cuyahoga County, they would in the future maybe look to sell their new product, and who knows what they would do with their old one. I don't know, but I do know they've acquired both of them.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
So to follow up on that, at the last Harris review that we had in this committee, Ms. Daftovich said that we were very, very close, she said, a matter of days on getting the negotiations resolved. But I get the sense from what you're saying that we still don't have resolution on that. Am I correct?
I'll confirm with Jack, who's taking the lead on it. We've agreed to a dollar amount. He's working through the amendment that'll address all of that. So I'll have to confirm exactly where he's at on that. But I did sign off on the dollar amount that I agreed to it, and that was a few weeks ago. So I'll have to follow up with him, Councilman, to see exactly where he's at on that.
And are you able to share at this time what the dollar amount
I
is?
prefer not until I know for sure that it's agreed to. Otherwise, if that's okay.
Okay, fine. We'll hold off on that. Okay. Anything else, Councilman Tron?
No, but if you wanted the dollar amount, we could certainly close this, move into executive session if you felt that that was important enough to you. I mean, that's the purpose of executive session, because this is hopefully not litigation, but it's always in preparation. You always do. That is a area that is protected under the sunshine laws. It would allow if that was something you, Mr. Chairman, you wanted to have that information.
Okay. Well, I would not want to go into an executive session without notice. But we could decide to do it on the 16th. We have a meeting scheduled in 2 weeks.
It's your call. I mean,
it might be
hopefully
formal
by
by
that
then
time,
anyways.
It might be where it could be discussed publicly.
My concern always is if you got that element going on in that one piece of negotiations, how does that impact these two pieces with the same company? That always, I'm never a happy camper when I've got because the Harris disagreement's been going on for how long? A year and a half, 2 years?
Yeah, let me be clear though. The MVP's been very responsive to us. I mean, so even though they may be owned, they have been fulfilling their obligation with us. There's no issue with this particular company.
Okay.
In fact, they've done. We believe they're doing a good job. So.
All right. Separate management, separate everything?
Separate, yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Okay.
I have one
Anything
question.
else? Ms. Baker.
So if I may, just a question on the CAMA.
Mm-hmm.
So this is computer-assisted mass appraisal. So when we calculate multiple approaches to value and assist the appraisers in developing a market value, so we know that, when we go out there and we appraise these homes and businesses and things, that there's differences of opinion, and that when you take mass appraisals and then zero in on people's individual business or home, it can differ from the area that perhaps they're putting value on. So how does this play into that?
Let me start by this, because we're not house appraisers or bank appraisers. We're mass appraisers.
Okay.
And I mean, truly, a lot of people that come to the Board of Revision may want to get a individual appraiser, but we follow the state of Ohio guidelines. We also follow the international assessment model of how we do mass appraisal. The most recent appraisal we did, as outlined in the Ohio Revised Code, said you have to take the sales data from January 1st of 2018 through 12/31 of 21 and only use sales data. And what our team does in order to be, fair, is we know there's hot pockets of, I live in Cleveland, like the west side of Cleveland is very hot, very moving, whereas some of the east side wasn't as much. And our job is to be as equitable to everyone as we can. So we would zero in on those neighborhoods within the city. Because number one, we have to do it by city, and then within the city, we look at neighborhoods.
Yeah.
And so that we're assessing truthfully, because I think my particular one went up 34% or somewhere around there, whereas I think Cleveland as a whole, 16. So some areas of Cleveland, maybe on the east side, only went up 10, where my area went up 34, and then the average of Cleveland was 16. So part of the mass appraisal is doing it that way. And then we layer that ratio on top of whatever our existing base was. And, in my community meetings, I went out there and I explained to them that 3 years ago, prior to that, so back in 15, somewhere around there, we went out and visited every single parcel, and we came up, with a evaluation. If people agreed with it, they said nothing. If they disagreed with it, they filed, complaints with the Board of Revision. And then whatever the result of that became your new base. So whatever happened 6 years ago was the base for what we just did recently, and it's going to compete itself indefinitely until the state of Ohio changes the rules. And they do that to keep all 88 counties in tune. Remember, on a monthly basis, every sale that comes into Cuyahoga in the recorder's office, file sent to my staff, file sent to the state of Ohio, and a file usually goes to the, Cleveland.com. That's where they get the information.
Right. So if within a neighborhood, if a house 3 doors down sold for 200,000,
Yeah.
and a house 4 doors or 5 doors down sold for 60,000, and you had differences on your street, how do you adjust for the differences when you try to take a mass average?
So what they look at is anomalies, number one, but they also look at the sales. That 60,000 might have been a father giving it to his son, which would be excluded.
Yeah.
Because we always want arm's length transactions.
Let's say it's not. Let's say you just have a mix of different houses on a street and there's a lot of streets like that.
But ultimately what would happen, going back to that neighborhood I talked about, that 34% in my neighborhood, that 34% would have been added on to that 64,000. The 34% would have been added on to that 200 and whatever number you said house.
Right.
So that's how it's doing it, because it's by the neighborhood that went up.
Yeah.
It's not, we don't just single out that one house. It's the whole, that whole percentage goes to that neighborhood.
Okay, I
And
guess
that's
I'm
mass
just.
appraisal. That's it,
Right,
yeah.
right. I mean, when you take an average of a street that has a varying degree of prices, I mean, like I said, some houses could be 60, some could be 120, some could be
But
200.
all of that, yeah, all of that's in the database.
Right.
And remember, Cleveland, I think, had, if I remember, 17,000 valid sales. I mean, it was a lot of data, and that's how we were able to break it up into the different neighborhoods. And our goal, and these guys work very hard on defining where that boundary from West Park to the next area, yeah. And
Okay.
remember, everyone has that opportunity, and I encouraged everyone in the meetings, if you felt it was wrong,
Right.
then you go. Generally speaking, I'll be honest with you, I believe we're actually probably a little bit lower than market. And I think people understand that.
Okay, good to know.
Sure.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
There's no other questions. We should move this along because it's already late, and I would ask if there is a motion to refer to the full council with recommendation for second reading suspension. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Councilman Tuma and seconded by Councilman Schwan to refer Resolution 2022-0118 to the full council with recommendation to leadership to place it on the agenda for second reading suspension at the next council meeting. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. Ayes have it, and the resolution is referred. In terms of miscellaneous business, I would just like to make my colleagues aware that 2 weeks from today at our regular time on May the 16th at 1 p.m., we are going to first hear a presentation virtually from Maher Dessel, our ARPA consultants, and then we will have the Director Parfiowitz will present the first quarter actuals and projections for the rest of the year. And we are expecting that we'll receive that report toward the end of the week, the week before the meeting, so people have a chance to review it and formulate questions ahead of the meeting. Any other miscellaneous business? Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. We are adjourned. Thanks very much, everybody, for your time and attention.